Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Mobile Watch. I'm actually sitting here in South Carolina in the US with Dr. Satish Jayachandran. Dr. Satish, thank you so much for spending some time with me on this. I just want to quickly introduce Dr. Jayachandran. He's the department chair for marketing for the Darla Moore School of Business. Yes. He has also recently become the associate dean of the MBA programs. And if you're new to the designation of associate dean, it basically means that you're in charge of the programs inside and out, and you kind of spearhead it, which means the good, the bad, and the ugly of the programs are all come, the doors lead to you, correct? Right. So a quick, to continue the introduction of Dr. Jayachandran, he's actually a PhD from Texas A&M University, and he's held an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management in Calcutta in India. He's also published a lot of articles in his area of interest, specifically marketing strategy, and extending that into market research and how market research and marketing strategy kind of come together and affect each other. He was nominated a Young Scholar as way back as 2003. Doesn't mean you're not a young scholar now. and is also the associate editor of the Journal of Marketing Research and a member of the editorial review boards of the Journal of Marketing, the Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science, and the Journal of International Marketing. So in case you haven't realized by now, he's a subject matter expert on marketing. So, and is it okay if I address you as Satish? Is that fine? Yeah.
That's fine.
So, Satish, first and foremost, once again, thank you for making the time.
You're welcome.
This is such a fascinating subject because I think with the advent of digital, marketing itself is fundamentally changing. So, I recently came across the Chief Marketing Technologist role. Honestly, I don't even know what that means, but between the CMO, the CDMO, the CDO, the CTO, and now the Chief Marketing Technologist, my first question would be, where does marketing stand currently?
Where does marketing stand in terms of what a firm does? It still has its critical role in terms of being the custodian of the firm's value. And the brand. However, what has changed is the way in which consumers interact with the brand. And the way in which they have an ability to speak back to the brand. And that leads to a whole host of opportunities as well as a lot of difficult problems that a firm or a manager has to navigate.
Correct.
So for instance, we talked about the Chief Marketing Technology Officer. This comes from a space where there is so much data, and there is so much ability to actually get in touch with the consumer. At the same time, it takes a lot of technical skills to make sense of the data. So your market research is not a good old market research. The data is live. It's
it's real time.
As you get the data, the consumer's behavior itself is changing, because they are responding to experiments being run by companies, including Facebook and Google. So it's a much more dynamic environment, and where it's not really enough to get the data, you should have the ability to, or the agility to respond quickly to the data. So that is where things have changed. And that's where a technology officer, marketing technology officer, where you can build these platforms, or you can build these various ways of getting through to the consumer using technology, and also develop the ability to respond quickly from that perspective.
Correct. So in my mind, I have always believed that now more than ever, Kotler's 4 Ps, are relevant, right? Especially in the digital space, you have to come back to fundamentals. So I've always told my students, I've always told my clients, go read what the 4 Ps are and stay true to them. But I remember there was it Coke, I think recently, who thought that they didn't need a CMO anymore, right? So the role of the chief marketing officers are getting questioned. The role of what is the difference between the chief digital officer and the chief technology officer, right? You hear about the fact that funds are being moved now from the chief technology space now to the marketing space, which is to me absolutely brilliant, because now the marketing role will have fangs, it'll actually have some teeth, and they could actually do something and lead it down to a digital transformation, without which none of that will happen, right? But how can, therefore, if this is also relevant today, how can companies get up today and say, we don't need a CMO from today, or we wonder what the CMO does?
That's a very interesting debate whether we need a CMO or not. Some companies have maybe perhaps moved away from the role, but a lot of other companies are moving towards having a CMO, and that's something I can speak to with some degree of knowledge, because that's part of recent research that I'm doing with a couple of colleagues.
Yes, please.
And what we're looking at is whether the tenure of a CMO, how long he or she
18
serves,
months, right?
on average pretty low, but what impact that tenure has on a firm's performance.
Right.
So we've had some research where people look at whether the presence or absence of a CMO matters.
Yes.
And the conclusion is, well, maybe it matters. In some instances it seems to, in certain other instances it doesn't seem to, right? And that's an ongoing debate in the academic marketing community. So what we are looking at is whether the length of the tenure matters to the company, and we look at how it impacts firm risk. So firm risk is essentially what is external creditors evaluate in terms of the cost of capital of the company.
Yes.
So what we find is if the CMO's tenure is longer, actually the firm's cost of capital declines, meaning the stock market looks at a longer tenure for the CMO as a signal that the firm's cash flow is more stable.
Right.
And therefore, the firm benefits from lower cost of capital.
Correct.
So the CMO position does matter.
Yes.
And not only does it matter, if you do keep the CMO in harness for a longer period of time, the firm benefits. And the reason the firm benefits is, at least this is our speculation, the reason the firm benefits is because when you have a CMO in place for a long period of time, you have stability in brand programs, and therefore you're able to build a brand better. And a stronger brand lowers firm risk, and therefore you get lower cost of capital.
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to say that because it's not just the market that will respond well to a CMO who has been around for a while. And 18 months, I look at the fact that an average tenure of a CMO is 18 months. And I look back and say, what can you achieve in 18 months? It takes 6 months for you to understand a company and a brand's personas and their culture. Another 6 months to get any kind of approvals, right?
Yes.
So by the time you actually implement something, it's another 6 months. And, most of the times you're not around to see what the impact was, right? So the fact is, it isn't just the firm who's getting acknowledged, but I think the brands also have a custodian who's there. It's like changing parents every 18 months. Can you imagine I would love to better understand who are the custodians of the brands today, right? So every 18 months, the person who's leading brands is changing. Whose story is it? Like today, your interpretation of Nike will be different than mine, or especially CPG, I think it matters, right? You might today want to change the packaging and the persona, and another 18 months, somebody else is changing it. Whereas the consumer who's going to buy it, he'll be like, what happened to my brand, right? Today it was speaking this language, tomorrow it's speaking this language. So who's handling the story in the digital, just in marketing today?
Each time a new CMO comes in, he or she would want to change things. It's only natural.
Yes.
They want to put their own stamp on
Exactly.
And that doesn't help.
Yes. But then you will have a board that will get up and say, but show us what you've done. And then you're like, but I didn't do anything so that you can continue the good work. You're like, okay, then I don't need you, right? Which brings me back to the consumer, right? And I always believe today's consumer, I call them schizophrenic, right? Mm-hmm. They're always on, they're multi-device, they're multi-time. I, for one, love shopping at 2 in the morning. I can't understand why Trader Joe's and the Whole Foods of the world are not open at 2 in the morning. Now they are because of Amazon, Whole Foods at least. So here is a consumer who on Amazon Prime Day is going through deals to buy a $7 mascara, and then doesn't know what they would buy for another 6 months, or are leaving things in the shopping cart for 3 months, right? So this is a consumer who herself does not know what she wants. Imagine making factories around her trying to understand her consumer journey. So you mentioned data points, right? So between data points and digital, and especially mobile, which I truly believe is a device that is changing the way we are all interacting with brands and products, how is the company supposed to make sense of this landscape,
It's gotten very complex, right? That's why part of the reason why the CMO's tenure is shorter is because it's very hard to make sense of this environment. Too much data, too many things are changing, and as you are trying to get your brand up to speed in a digital environment, Google and Facebook are changing the algorithms
all the
so
time.
you kind of learn
Yes.
as you go along, right?
Yes.
So
without warning, by the way, you can get up in the morning and it's like, hello, we've removed the whole right hand side.
it's a change.
Yes.
So as far as the customer journey goes, it's very, very critical to understand it properly.
Yeah.
So for instance, what some recent research shows is,
Yeah.
if a consumer, we have a certain amount of time in a day, right? And that's a given for everybody.
Yeah.
You can't
Normally
change
26
that.
hours.
Yeah. You can't change that.
Yeah.
And we allocate that time based on a utility for entertainment and information and all that.
Right.
So if you're looking at social media, so when we go online, we may go to social media, right? We may go to Facebook, we may go to WhatsApp or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Or you could go to, say, an Amazon site.
Right.
Let's assume that if you go to Amazon, you're looking for information. Whereas if you go into Facebook, you're looking for entertainment more, right? You're
Right.
looking for information, but you're kind of having fun,
Right.
What research shows is if you allocate more time to social media,
Yeah.
you actually shop less, you actually buy less.
I see.
Because that time you're spending on social media is
You're not spending
less.
on Amazon or you're
you're
not shopping.
spending on
I
Amazon,
see.
you're spending on Google
I
or
see.
whatever, right?
From a
that is
consumer
that-
perspective, you're saying this.
From
If
the
a
consumer-
consumer spends more time on social,
Yes.
they are spending less time shopping.
in the short term.
In the
right?
short term.
In the medium term, that tendency declines. They start buying more because the more time you spend on social media, the marginal value of the time that you spend
Right.
in terms of getting information improves.
Has
For
gone-
instance, you
yeah.
might see your friend wearing a new pair of shoes, right?
Correct.
And that may trigger an interest in you. Like,
Correct.
click on that, you might go and then buy things, right?
Nice.
So in the short term, firms do have a problem if this research is, going to rightly hold.
Yeah.
The more time you or I
Yeah.
spend on Facebook,
Yeah.
the less likely we are to buy something because we just
Don't have enough time. Yeah.
So what happens there is a discretionary purchase.
Yeah.
The stuff you buy for fun,
Yeah.
you don't buy anymore, right?
Correct.
Because you are buying experiences on Facebook or
Correct.
WhatsApp or whatever, right?
Correct.
Or any of those
Correct.
social media spaces. So what that tells you is, one, as a marketing manager, you need to really understand the implications of time allocation for
Right.
consumers across different digital environments.
Ecosystems. Yes.
The second thing is, we are all multi device people, right?
Yeah.
We have a phone, we have a
Yeah.
laptop, we
Yeah.
have maybe a tablet, or we may have a desktop or whatever, right?
Yeah.
The amount of time you spend on each device seems to affect how much you consume.
Wow.
And also the switch.
Wow.
So if you're on mobile, you are likely to buy less while you're on mobile, but
You're likely to research more.
you will research, and when you go to buy, a lot of people seem to buy more if you switch to a laptop or
Right.
switch to a desktop.
But is that because you think brands have not been able to, in terms of a digital experience, I mean, forgive my language, but it's quite pathetic. I mean, some of the brands have just not been able to crack how to see, Travelers got it right? I think some of the, retail has definitely not got it right. Maybe fast fashion has. There are very few brands where you can complete the entire journey on mobile, right?
It is.
You don't think so?
It's not a question of
The digital
how
experience?
much the brand does. Right?
Yeah.
It's a question of how risky we perceive the purchase to be.
So give me an example.
So if you're just buying a book or you're buying music,
Yeah.
you're absolutely comfortable buying it using a
On
mobile
mobile.
because what you get, you know what you get,
Yeah.
right?
Buying a house, no.
Well, completely different thing. But
Yeah.
if you're buying a shirt, for
Yeah.
instance, you
Yeah.
might actually want to see it better,
Right.
and your perceived risk therefore declines if you go to a
Right.
larger screen.
Right.
So, first of all, we are ideally, when you buy a shirt or you want to buy a pair of shoes or whatever, you want to touch and feel, like ideally. Now we've become very used to buying without
Touch and feel.
things,
Yes.
but still we want our experience online to simulate that as
Close as possible. Correct.
and the smaller screen possibly doesn't work too
Correct.
much, right?
Correct.
So it's a perceived risk that is the issue. But however, if you start with a mobile,
Yeah.
and then you switch to computer,
Yeah.
you actually buy more.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the important thing. The problem is if you're measuring the effectiveness of mobile and you're not accounting for the fact that it's being used to research and the actual purchase is happening on a laptop, you will undervalue
the power of mobile in the entire complete consumer journey, which is why, at least in the e-commerce space, Google has come up with Google Analytics with data-driven attribution, as you know, which will now correctly, hopefully, say, how much each channel had contributed to the entire consumer journey.
So if you are measuring, therefore, it's not enough for you to look at the last point of purchase.
The assistant
you need
conversion.
to look at where it came from and when that happened.
Right.
So, for instance, I'm on my phone now, and then I quickly go to my computer and buy something from Amazon. Who do we attribute the purchase to? Do we attribute it to this medium or to the mobile which actually sent me there?
Right.
And if you don't account for that in your research design, you are actually undervaluing the power of mobile.
Correct.
So
now let's add one more complication to this, because obviously Amazon has understood it, which is why they got Whole Foods, which is why they started setting up shops, right? Now let's have the complication of the brick and mortar in this, correct? So I see the shirt. I first started over there, then I see the shirt, and then I decided, well, I'm going to be there anyway, going for a meeting or something, or I'm going to be in New York, let me see if I can walk into the shop. And I walk into the shop and buy it. Now I really don't know the fact that 90% of my journey was actually digital. So by the time I walk into the shop, I actually knew exactly what I wanted. So instead of spending 4 hours browsing, in 20 minutes I went out, I had an amazing experience. So companies, I think, are still saying, well, see, 90% of retail still happens in shops, right? And digital might be growing at 50% year on year, but it's still only 10% of the entire landscape, which again I think is undervalued. It is undervalued.
So what that tells you is your research design has to be much more sophisticated than the typical designs you undertake when you study this.
Right.
So in terms of your creating, if you look at a typical experimental design, if you're looking at your control and treatment routes, you have to make sure that that design is really good. Or if you're using data from external sources, data already collected, when you analyze the data, you have to account for the fact that you understand the journey, and in analysis you account for that.
Right.
And if you don't do it, you're going to underestimate one medium, mobile in this case, and overestimate the effectiveness of the retail store or
in this example. So that brings me to a very interesting question, right? Because market research itself is struggling, correct? So in this example that you've given, the data is being collected by the data scientists or data analytics, and who are producing, and I'm talking to a real life scenario, right? So the data group has to produce a daily report, a weekly report, a monthly report, and that report goes up maybe to the e-commerce head or to definitely not going up to the digital team. It's going up to maybe the technology team or the e-com team, depending on if you're an e-com, if you're a B2B business or a B2C business. And the people and the marketing group perhaps never sees it, right? The advertising group only talks to the market research team, and the market research team, I'm assuming, has never seen the data being collected with the data team, right? So in this scenario, market research, I believe today, is struggling to understand what their role is, right, and how their role is morphing, because they're wondering what new tools of market research can we use. And over here, I think the data scientists don't really know the value of an insight, right? So they can tell you how many times you blinked today, but not really being linking it to therefore what does it mean for the brand, right? Which I think is the leap that is most critical today in my mind. I think that is a need gap that I think companies are struggling to fit, because everyone knows how many times you blinked, but therefore what does it mean and what actions can I take, right? So where is market research and all this, data and all this?
I think market research still has a role, right? I mean, we spend part of the time on in the electronic space, right? And part of the time we don't.
A lot of the time we spend in the electronics.
Yes, we do. But ultimately, you still have to understand how to design an experiment.
Yes.
Right.
So those fundamentals don't change.
Those fundamentals don't change. In fact, in the role of experimentation has, if anything, increased by many folds in this environment just because you can actually do a lot of experiments at a
real time
at a very low cost.
Yes.
And you don't really have to have a theory. You can just throw things out there,
Yeah.
and you can figure out what works.
Yeah.
So to me, a very strong marketer now is one, a very good market researcher is by instinct and by training.
Yeah.
Because she will need to have the skill
Yes.
to, if not design experiments,
Yes.
at least understand what a good design is.
Yes.
What to
And be
go
open
forward.
to risk taking,
Exactly.
right? And think that it's okay to take a risk, right? That it's okay to say, let's experiment today with this, or let's do that. Let's do this in a market.
Yes.
Am I correct?
And I'll say it's a good thing, because why do we have a lot of strategic planning? We have a lot of strategic planning because we don't know how people are going to behave.
Right.
So we're trying to address all the risk factors
Without understanding.
at the outset, right?
Yes.
But in an environment where we can figure out at a low cost how people are going to respond, we don't need to do that much planning.
Correct.
We can do a certain base level planning,
Yes.
design something,
Right.
test it out at very low cost,
Yeah.
and then figure out what actually to produce, what colors work, what patterns work, what designs work. That testing is so much more cost effective now.
Right. And two, who do you think is a brand that is perhaps struggling and has now started to better understand this space and getting it right?
I think they've all struggled, right? I mean, I think for one brand that I think quite early on started doing, at least using the digital space. Well, I don't know particularly about mobile, I'm speaking of the digital space. I think Vitamin Water did a very good job right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just because they were born
Digital.
more or less digital, right? They're not a very old brand,
Right.
So they may be like early 2000s.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. So they got into the digital space very, very early, and they got sort of they would use Facebook, for instance, to design flavors. They'd ask their customers to vote on what flavor do you want. They'll go and produce that, and the customer engagement with them therefore was substantially higher, right?
And thereby also building a very strong community to begin with, right? So the moment you think you're part of making the brand, you are part of the brand, right? So
But that's a slightly older story, right?
Yeah.
They've been around for more than a decade now.
But not still successful.
Still very successful,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I think Nike has really learned how to use the digital space well. For instance, you take the polycarbonate recent sort of,
very risky, by
controversy.
the way.
Well,
Very risky.
But they knew exactly who the audience
was,
and they were not really. So you can know who you're speaking to. Then it's not a risk any longer.
But they also hopefully knew that they would upset a few.
No, they clearly knew that. It was well researched.
Okay.
So they knew what they were doing.
Right.
They knew who would buy that product, and they also knew it would work. They knew that
You think they knew it would work?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah? Confident that they knew it would work?
Because it's a huge risk for a brand to take.
It's a huge risk for a brand.
Wading into a divisive kind of battle.
Exactly.
And
they've come out victorious. They've come out as a brand that they stand for. They've always been leaders. They've always been brands who have been above and beyond their time.
Yes.
So in that sense, if you really look at it, you spoke about storytelling, looks like they have come back to their core values in some ways with this campaign,
They've
right?
come back to the core values, and also they could be confident it could work for them because who was really active in speaking on media about these brands? The younger people, right?
Yes. Digital natives.
Yes. And they are much more likely to vote positively on an action. So people who don't like it, they're possibly less active. If at all they get active about it, they're going to get very, very nasty, and that is not going to carry. You're not going to really retweet a message that has bad language and it's really putting something down. You're possibly more likely to retweet something that is positive.
So do you think Nike somewhere as a brand was kind of losing its way and has now figured out how to use this ecosystem to make it part of the brand?
I don't know whether they were losing the way, but I think they started doing much better in the space.
Much better in the space.
So for instance, if you just compare Adidas versus Nike, right? Adidas always had a sort of more of a fashion, more youthful kind of image. Nike is more clearly sporty kind of thing, right? So the younger crowd was possible, and I could be, I don't know the actual statistics there, but possibly you find a lot of young people wearing Adidas. But I think Nike with display might sort of capture the imagination more.
Yes.
So that's a possibility. And again, I don't have the data on that,
But
but I think
great examples. Great examples. I think one which was a CPG example, and the other, there's great examples. And these are, if you really invest in Nike, the lifetime value of a Nike customer will be several thousands of dollars. I know because my 10-year-old son, I've been buying him Nikes, and I keep reminding him I've never bought a shoe that expensive, and I have a lot of shoes. So you're absolutely right. Especially when you catch them young and you stand for something, you really can increase a brand's lifetime value, right? So coming back to the fact that you've been in the space with the college, right, and with the business school. Our students today, do you see that students are also hungry to learn some of these programs? Do you think the companies understand that there's certain skill sets that are required in the digital and mobile space?
Oh, very much so. In fact, I think it's a huge, open space, right, in terms of people who have an understanding of what marketing is and can connect to the marketing world. At the same time, having the skill to create content as well as understand the technology. If you have the marketing knowledge, the ability to understand content, and then also know the technology to some degree, you're in the sweet spot.
Yeah, but that's like asking for everything. That's like the perfect bride advertisement, right?
No, that's sort of what we're trying to train them. That's what we're trying to train them to be, right?
Right. To think from every perspective. Every perspective. Okay.
So that
is that a hard thing? Because it has to be across programs, correct?
Yes, and not just that. It's you have to have a certain amount of skill with data and technology, right? You should at least understand how coding works, how developing an app works, and that sort of thing. And you've been in advertising. You would know if you're an account manager, it helps you tremendously if you understand how the creative market works, right?
It also helps because I need my creative director to like me, but you're right, it does.
How an art director works, how their mind works, and how the production guys work. The more you know about that, the more you understand their problems, the better you are as an account manager. The same way, if you understand what issues an app developer would have, right? Because a lot of your marketing now is happening through apps, right? How they work.
Yes.
And what an app can do for you.
Yes.
Right? You can pitch an idea.
Yes.
And you can get it to work for you, right? So that's a big thing. And so the skill sets that the marketer of today would need, therefore, marketing is always a complex job, despite what the man on the street thinks, right? You really need a lot of different skill set and also the ability to
part psychologist, part EQ, part human.
I think that's just become more complex, and therefore the training that we kind of try to upgrade our training very, very frequently. And it's from our perspective, that's also an experiment. We just don't know what the emerging skill set is and what exactly we can do, but that's really a challenge. Yeah,
I always say, this is probably the most scary time, yet probably the most exciting time to be in this space with digital and mobile, and especially AR and VR coming in. I mean, it's no longer even like a sci-fi movie. It's all here. IoT is all here. AI is here. What are you most excited about?
IoT is interesting. I'm curious to see what sort of an impact that will have, how willing people are to trade their privacy off for
do they have a choice?
Well, I think there's a choice.
Already getting used to it today, right?
There are people who walk away from it, right? People who just will not go near Google or an Amazon or whatever, right? Said, no, I don't want them controlling my life.
Yes.
So there is this, I guess some of it might be you're just getting used to it after some time. There's no privacy, just suck up, right? But there are people who just don't use it. So I think we've been talking about privacy as an issue for a very, very long time.
So you're not very happy with GDPR now from Europe? I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction,
It's a step in the right direction. Ultimately, it's a question of who owns the data, right? Because ultimately, what they're saying is you own your data, and they have to really seek your permission to actually use it. So when you go to an IoT sort of a thing, so
everything is connected.
All kinds of things, right?
Who owns the data?
Recently, somebody was demonstrating a hairbrush, which would give you data on what's happening with your hair and anything like that. And somebody was talking about an IoT device, a toothbrush, which sends data to your dentist. Now,
next thing I'll get a text message from a dentist. You haven't been brushing 3 times a day.
And not just that, you're not even brushing the back up of molar.
Yeah, that's exactly what I need now. Another message from a dentist.
Or take your car, for instance. Right?
Right.
I mean, the devices already exist. You can put something in your car and they will feed information to you and say,
yes.
come from
That's
here.
it. I remember
Exactly.
Exactly.
Would you really want that?
No.
Right? So, those issues exist. How we transcend that
get used to it.
space between completely opening it up for convenience and maybe for some certain customer value as against the dangers of I think that's an interesting space. So what really fascinates me is the extent to which not technology per se, but how we're going to trade off our information for the sake of value and
convenience. Yes. That's a great note, I should say, to end this. I know you and I can probably talk on this for hours. I'm just excited about how excited you are. I can see the sparkle in your eyes. And I believe that a lot of companies, like I said, are fearful of the changes. And, you can either get really scared of the unknown, which I think many companies are going through right now. Or you could say, you and I are customers too. I always tell my clients, and I've always told students, I say, never forget that you and I are customers too. So which means that if you are logging out of something because it was a bad experience, your customers will too, right? Or if you are not able to complete something, your customers will be too. If you're going in from a digital space to a brick and mortar who use the same brand, you cannot come back and think that those should be 2 separate P&Ls because they have 2 separate business heads, right? So many times we forget that we are all consumers, and it's the same whether it's B2B or B2C. So I find the space so fascinating, as you know, which is why this column started. And I'm happy that colleges like the Darla Moore School of Business are also investing in this space. I hope you will come back and share some more research. That was really interesting what you shared about mobile and desktop and the time spent on social. So I'd love to share some of them with my column audience. Thank you, Satish, for spending this time.
You're welcome, Anika.
Yeah, it's a great day in South Carolina, so I think we won't take much of your time and perhaps get to enjoy the day. So thanks so much.
Thanks.